Hi, my love. We're going to be doing a pet reading for you today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some notes on the cats. We're going to be reading for Milo and Hugo. And I'm going to do some energy reading on the cats and then pull tarot cards as well. We're going to see what's going on with the two of them. Will they be able to get along? They're living together now. And let's see what's going on with both of them, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do some writing. Okay. Okay. So a couple of things, and I'm here, but I'm not going to be in the video. So a couple of things that I'm getting for both of them. So Hugo has a very hyper energy, very hyper, just a hyper energy to him. Like he has a lot of energy to burn. Okay. And I feel like Hugo's younger than Milo, but I could be wrong. It could just be Hugo's essence just feels that way. But he's also very much the more optimistic cat. Okay, so he's going to be the one that is a little bit more open to being friends with Milo. Okay. Hugo also has urges. So he has urges to pounce. I feel like he has the urges to kind of sneak up on Milo and jump. I think Hugo has a lot of the tendencies to do that kind of stuff. I also wrote down gas for Hugo. So I don't know if he experiences gassiness from the food he's eating, or if he's been experiencing some bloat, so feeling bloated. I don't know if that's something you've noticed about him, or if you just kind of notice he looks a little bit more like like just chubbier in the belly region. But I feel like he's experiencing gas, and so maybe that's also a discomfort for him, and maybe that could make him somewhat irritable as well. For Milo, so Milo is very mouthy. That word came up for him. Mouthy, and I feel like in terms it could be two things. So mouthy can be, maybe Spirit is saying that Milo is, when he's communicating with Hugo, he could be a little bit, just kind of like a tease, or he likes to pick at Hugo. He's kind of like the one that is more of the aggressor here. I also feel like mouthy can also indicate that Milo might have habits of chewing or biting. Okay, so if either of the two, I feel like Milo is the one who is more of a biter. I also put down Milo. It has more of a lost or a kind of like a lost essence to him. I wrote down lost and then looking, so he's always looking for places to hide, or he's looking for places to kind of blend in. I feel like he doesn't like to be center stage, where Hugo is a little bit more out there. I feel like Milo is very intelligent, a very intelligent cat, so he will pick up on, you know, little changes that you make in his environment. So he does kind of acclimate to that, but I feel like when it comes to another cat's essence, it's a little bit more difficult. I also feel like Milo is definitely open to a relationship with Hugo. I feel like that is something that will progress. I wrote down spring. I feel spring next year is going to have a whole new feel with the cat's energy. I also wrote down the aura colors blue versus red. So I'm feeling it's more of a fire versus water energy. Fire and water elements don't get along. They do kind of, you know, one is usually more intense than the other. Okay, so it would be interesting. I don't know if you know their birthdays. I don't think you listed them, but if you know the cat's birthdays or what the cat's signs are, what their sun, moon, or rising sign is, that can kind of also help you get a little bit more familiar with the needs of each of the cats. But intuitively speaking, I feel like one of them is more fire energy than the other. I would kind of say that I feel Hugo is more fire and Milo is more water energy. Or Milo could also be an air element too. So air and water are kind of the same, sort of. But definitely like one is just a little bit more intense than the other. And I feel like it's Hugo. Hugo can be a little bit more aggressive in like physical wise. Like I said, he likes to leap, he likes to pounce, he likes to hide in around corners and like kind of catch Milo by surprise. And then Milo probably is the one that, you know, counterattacks by biting. Okay, so I feel like he's mouthy, he's more biting. I also wrote down that Hugo, okay, so Hugo is more open to this this relationship. Hugo is the one that wants to play and wants to have fun, but then he's also standoffish because he instantly reads Milo's energy. So I would say kind of Hugo would probably be the one to work with a little bit more in terms of getting him, you know, with more changes. Hugo acclimates to change better, where Milo is a little bit more standoffish. Excuse me. I wrote down, yeah, Milo is more standoffish, so that's what I wrote down too. I wrote down daily practice and they need routine. The cats need routine. And I'm going based off of my own experience with bringing Starla into the house with Luna. So Luna was already 4 years old when I brought Starla in, or she was turning 4 that year. And Starla is, you know, significantly younger. She was 3 years younger than Luna. So it was a little difficult. Luna is very much not a social cat. Luna likes to keep to herself. So I was hoping that bringing a cat into the mix would bring Luna out of her shell. And it has since. I have noticed changes, but it's definitely been, we're like going on a full year now, where I've started to see positive change. So it is something that's going to take time. But some things that I did that may help for you too is making sure that the cats have more than enough litter boxes in the house. Okay, so you have 2 cats, they should each have their own litter box plus 1. Okay, so I have 3 litter boxes in my house. And I keep them in 3 different rooms. So depending on the arrangement of your guys' house, I have 1 litter box, which is kind of like the headquarter box. That's what we call it, is in our bedroom. Then there's a litter box in one of the guest rooms, and then I have a litter box in this room, my office. So the cats kind of have their freedom to go to 1 litter box, and they don't have to be in the same room, or the litter boxes are not side by side. They kind of have, you know, their privacy and their own litter box to choose from. So definitely I would say litter boxes, make sure you have 1 for each cat plus an extra. Because that gives them, you know, they're not going to be territorial about their litter boxes. And then also when you're having 2 cats, make sure that you are being on top of making sure the litter boxes are clean. So scooping, I like to in order for me to make sure I'm on track with this, scoop the litter box in the morning and scoop it at night before you go to bed. That's the best way that you're going to make sure it's constantly clean, because a clean litter box is a happy cat. From my experience, they will not, they're not going to fight over the litter boxes and stuff because one is cleaner than the other. Like, just make sure everything is good to go. I do recommend litter genies. So let me go ahead and move this over. Please excuse all of the, actually, oh no, I can't turn it over. Okay. So hopefully you could see that. Please excuse all of the cat litter. There's Starla right there. She's the one that likes to kick the cat litter out. But as you can see, my litter box, it's a large, I get the largest litter box that I can find. I get these at PetSmart. And then that's a litter genie. So the litter genie is just like when, you know, like how they have litter genies for babies. When you throw the baby diapers, it's kind of like it's its own little trash can. Well, they sell litter genies for cats. So you could get it at PetSmart, and it's the best thing ever because literally you can't smell the cat poop when you scoop it in there. So you drop it in there like a little trash can. It's in a bag. When a bag is full, you take it out, throw it out into the trash, and you have a whole new bag in there. So it's literally its own trash can for the cat poops and pee. So I do recommend that. It helps with the smell. You cannot smell it, and I feel like the smell is also a thing with cats, especially if you have two males. I used to have two males. I have two females now, but the scent is a big thing for them. Like if they're very territorial, scent is everything. So you want them to not smell their own poops. Make sure that if one is not burying the poop, that is the cat that is more aggressive. The cat, because I feel like when they're not burying it, they're letting it out for everyone to smell, and it's a territorial thing. So pay attention to which cat does that if one of them is doing it. But so the best way to counterattack any litter box issues is making sure you have more than enough, making sure that you have sufficient, it's clean each day, and making it a pleasant experience for the two cats. The other thing I wanted to mention is feeding time. So making sure you have a routine for the cats. So if you are free feeding, I would say stop doing that. Free feeding is when you have the food out in the bowls and it's just a full bowl all day long. So the cats don't have to necessarily work for their food. It's just there all the time. So I would say do away with that, especially if you're trying to get them to be friends. So what I started doing is I feed the cats twice a day. So one in the morning and then one in the evening. And so it's usually about, well, if the cats had their own way, it would be 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. But I tried to get them to wait to eat in the morning till at least 7 o'clock. But 5 a.m. the cats are meowing and ready to eat. So sometime in the morning and then in the evening, usually about 5, I would say is a good time. So I don't know how you feed your cats, what you feed the cats, but I have dry foods and then they get a wet food. I used to give 2 wet foods a day per cat. I buy the Sheba wet foods and they're like in small portions. So when you buy them at the stores, it's like you get 2 portions in one. So it's like 2. I would give 1 each for each cat, and then at night another 1 for each cat, plus a small serving of dry food as well. I've since stopped doing that. I find that I feel like it's a little bit too much for the cats, especially Starla. She puts on weight faster than Luna, so I'm starting to give only 1 wet food a day. But basically a routine with feeding so the cats know when it's feeding time. And I want you to start practicing giving them food together. So what I did at first when the cats were absolutely not getting along, when I would feed them, it would be a feeding time, same time every day. And I would feed Luna in her usual spot. And then I would take Starla's food bowl into another room and feed her. So they would be eating at the same time, but in separate spaces. Okay, so there's no fighting over food. And then slowly I started to move the bowl closer and closer. Starla's bowl. So I would say for a few weeks, I was feeding Starla separate in a different room. So literally during feeding time, Starla would run to the room that she would get fed in, and she learned that was where she was gonna go eat. But then I started to move her bowl out and out and out and out more. So eventually, when it was feeding time, I was putting Luna's bowl down on the right and Starla's was on the left, literally like 2 or 3 inches apart. And they would eat their food bowls together, like side by side, which was the goal. So it's gonna take time, but I think if you are strict with the routine feeding, it makes it easier for them to acclimate to that. So I definitely recommend feeding them twice a day, or if whatever you choose to do, whatever works with your schedule, but definitely routine feeding. And then eventually the goal is to have them eat side by side in their own bowls. So that's my other tip, is making sure that the cat has their own bowl, okay? Because then there's no fighting. So I always think in terms of me. I would hate to share my food bowl with anyone else. So so the same goes for the cats. So Luna and Starla have their own dry food bowls, they have their own wet food bowls, and they have their own water bowls. Now, obviously, they're gonna, now that they're friends, they pick and choose. Like sometimes they'll use each other's bowl or whatever, but I really wanted to designate that each cat had their own space, because it takes away the territorial aspect, and then they learn to eat in the same area and they're friends. So feeding and a routine feeding really helps with that, making friends. So, you know, work on that. That's another thing to work on. The other thing I would say is play time with the cats, especially, I feel like Hugo needs a lot of play time because he's very hyper. At least that's the vibe I was getting off of him. So when you're playing with them, make sure that both of them are in the same room. Now, Luna is not much of a playing type of a cat. She just likes to lay around and, you know, sometimes she'll play, but she's not very into it. Starla, on the other hand, loves to play. So whenever I would play with Starla, and especially because at the time she was a kitten, Luna was in the same room and she would hide in her cat tree, but she would still be in the room. So I would try to like tease the little cat teaser with Luna for a little bit, get her scent on it, and then I would play with Starla and get Starla's scent on it, and then back and forth. So that's another thing, is the cat scent. Whether it's like a toy or whatnot, you want to rub it against their neck area, like wherever their glands are. Sometimes rub it in their butts too, like just like, you know how dogs sniff each other's butts, cats do the same thing. And so rub the toy in one of their butts, and then like let the other one smell it and play with it, and then like do the vice versa, because you want to kind of blend the scents. You know, you want them to become more familiar and know that there's nothing to be afraid of. So I would definitely say, you know, have a routine too with playtime. It doesn't have to be like this long drawn out activity. It could be a simple 5-10 minutes, but just like so that the cats are learning to play together, or that it's okay to play together or be in the same room together. And then I just think it's just equal love, you know, talking to the pets and giving them love and attention. And when you're petting one and this and that, do the same thing to the other. I treat my cats like twins. So if I had twin babies, you know, I'm not going to buy one toy for both of them. I would get them each a toy so that they have their own, you know, so they're not constantly having to share and fight. So that's just my approach with the cats. So if I buy one cat toy, I buy two, okay? One for each cat. Bowls, their own bowls, their litter boxes, they have their own litter boxes technically, even though they're going to be sharing it. And then there's like the one litter box. So there's, you know, that extra one. But basically it's just kind of, you know, take day by day. I don't know how far away it was that you introduced the cats. But if it's still been fairly fresh, maybe you could still do the whole like hiding one cat in a room and like designating that room as the headquarters for the new cat, so that the resident cat, or the cat that's been living in the house first, you know, the one that's been there first, can start to smell the other cat and get familiar with having that scent around the house, and then slowly bringing the other one out. But if it's already been a while, then I would say definitely get them in a routine playing, routine feeding, and just, you know, the more that they smell each other, the better. So anything, whether it's a blanket that one sleeps with or toys, you know, making sure that they smell each other, and you don't want to keep them constantly separated as if like out of fear, because then they're going to learn that. Like they're going to learn that energy, and cats are so intuitive. They're so intuitive. So the cats are going to know when something's up. So I also feel like it's kind of like, make sure that your energy is in check too, or whoever is in the household. You know, don't be nervous with the cats being around each other. If you're chill, the cats will probably read that energy and be chill themselves. So I hope that those tips helped. I've had cats all my life, and I love watching Jackson Galaxy's his videos on YouTube. He's like the cat daddy. So I do recommend him if you've never heard of him, Jackson Galaxy or Cat Daddy. He has a YouTube channel, he has an Instagram, and he's pretty much the cat whisperer. And he has a lot of tips and all of that for getting your cats to be friends. And I used a lot of his videos to help with Luna and Starla, and it takes time, my love. It takes time. I had nights where I cried my eyes out because I thought they would never be friends, and I thought that I made a mistake by bringing Starla into the picture. I went through almost I almost went through the route of rehoming Starla, but I'm glad that I stuck with it. I stayed with a routine, and it took time. I would say maybe 6 months. It took about 6 months before I really started to see consistent positive change. And now, as of May this year, it was a full year, and the cats, they still fight every once in a while, but they're, that's a cat thing. But they get along hell of a lot better. The other thing I would say before I start pulling cards is having access. The cats need to have access to hide, and in healthy hiding spots, not under the bed. So block out under the bed, block out under the sofas, things like that. But I'm talking about healthy hidden places, like, a cat condo. I have cat trees in my house. So I'll show you. Like, I have a cat tree there. I have another one that's just like this one in my bedroom. And then I have some shorter ones in the living room, and there's 2. So I got them at Ross, so you could probably find something similar. They were only like $30. They're shorter cat trees, and they're perfect height for the windows. So I have 2 windows that are side by side, and every morning I open the window and I put the cat trees are right in front of each window, and the cat's literally one in each one. And they look out, they bird watch and stuff. So making that a routine for the cats, and they each have their own place, their own cat bed or their own cat condo or whatever, it just takes the stress away, and they're not forced to share. Because I just think for myself, if I were to be living with someone I've never met before, I would not want to be sharing the same things as them. So just kind of take that into consideration with yourself. Like, what would you be comfortable or not comfortable with? And you kind of figure that it's the same for cats. So I hope that helped. Okay, let's go ahead and do some reading, some tarot reading. So I pulled Archangel Gabriel, Jophiel, and Jophiel again. So I have inspiration, joy, and meditation. So when it comes to the energy of these cats, the inspiration is you want to inspire the cats. You want to inspire them or intrigue them to want to get to know each other. Okay, you can, like I said, you could do that by playing. And one cat you might notice will love playing with a cat teaser, where the other one loves the laser, or one of them likes the balls. Like Starla loves the balls, she plays fetch. Luna is not a fetch type of a cat, but she does kind of go after the cat teasers. So inspire the cats based off of their interests. Also inspire them with the what Jackson Galaxy calls it cat TV, which is what I do by opening the windows or the window blinds so the cats can look outside. When they're bird watching, they are not paying attention to each other. They are paying attention to the birds or what's happening outside. So inspire the cats with like some other kind of thing to focus on each day so that they can spend time together, but they're not paying attention to each other. They're looking at something else. So distract them. Jophiel brings joy. So I feel like this is just kind of saying the attitude of the household. Make sure that everyone, be as positive and optimistic of this transition as possible. If people are negative and they're scared or they're nervous, the cats are going to read that energy. So being in a space of joy. And then we have meditation, and I feel like this is more so for you guys or the people who are in the household, learning to calm their senses and to calm their energies through meditation. But also I would say have some like calm music playing in the house. If the household is usually loud with like the loud TV or, disruption with a lot of people coming in and out, I think meditation is kind of saying the cats might need more of an energy of calmness. So having kind of like a nice quiet space from time to time throw on some music, but maybe not like loud rock music. Like my hubby loves to turn on his loud rock music, and I'm all for it too, but sometimes the cats just love to just zone out to no noise, or the windows being open and listening to the birds. Or sometimes I will throw on my meditation music and they love it. So I definitely feel like meditation is kind of bringing that up as well. And then I would also say, if your cats are still new at, being together in the same house, minimize the amount of guests who come over. Because you don't want to have that element, that additional element for them to deal with. Woo, we got some tough cards, but some good cards too. We don't want to introduce, another element of so many guests coming over when the cats are still trying to get used to each other. So when Starla was first in my house, my husband was actually in Sacramento at the police academy. And so he wasn't home. He was gone. So it was really just me, and I was able to kind of focus on the cats myself. And I never had guests over except for maybe once or twice my parents came over. So it was very minimal of having anyone else in the house. And I think that also helped the cats kind of calm down and relax too. Okay, so the tarot cards that are coming up, we have the 10 of Cups, the 9 of Swords, and the 2 of Wands. So I do see that the potential of a happy ending is definitely there with the 10 of Cups. The 9 of Swords definitely tells me that one of the cats has an inability to focus at night. I feel like there's a lot of night terror with one of the cats. Either they come alive at night. Obviously that's most cats, but I feel like one of them has a hard time sleeping. I don't know if there's trauma from their past or something that they've went through, but I feel like there's some trauma with one of the cats, and it triggers something in them. The 2 of Wands pops up, and I do feel like this is kind of like finding equal or mutual interest for the cats. I feel like the both of the wands, one is one cat, the other one is the other, and then there's you in the middle, or the person in the middle who's living in the household. And it's kind of like it's up to you in the middle to bring the two together. Okay, that's kind of how I'm seeing that. Definitely though, if you kind of know, because I pulled the Devil card also, plus the 10 of Swords. Which cat is it that is experiencing trauma? So really think closely and think about the past of each of the cats. Is it Milo? Is it Hugo? Did one of them recently go through something traumatic? Maybe they have, a little bit of PTSD due to moving, or there could be, like, I know Luna, I feel really bad for Luna because since I got Luna, I've moved out of an apartment into my parents' house, out of my parents' house, and into this house. And so I feel like she has a lot of PTSD concerning moving, and being around like the doorbell freaks her out because of that. So unfortunately, it's something that I have to work with her, but she does have PTSD due to moving. So I do feel like perhaps one of your cats may have that, and I kind of see that with the Devil card and the 10 of Swords. It's a little bit traumatizing for them. So if you are very much aware of that with the cats, it's going to be kind of up to you, because I see this, my 2 of Wands is facing my 9 of Swords, and then on the other side is a 10 of Cups. So there's a lot of love and there's a lot of attention that is brought to this one cat with the trauma, but I also feel like there needs to be some additional mutual coming together. So we don't want to enhance the trauma in this cat. We want to kind of bring them together to work it out one-on-one, like all 3 of you work it out. And I see that with the Temperance. The Temperance is basically saying what this is all coming down to is patience, having patience in this process. And it's going to be, 1 step forward, 2 steps back at times. And then there's going to be breakthroughs. And I feel like you have to really take time to praise yourself for these amazing breakthroughs, because little things like the cats ate together for 5 seconds before they ran off, that's a breakthrough. Okay, so make sure that you address that. You praise yourself for it. You're positive, you're hopeful, putting those beautiful energies out there. I would also say surround the food bowl area or their cat area with a crystal that is relaxing. So I recommend aquamarine or even some rose quartz to to bring love into love into the mix for the cats, right? So a crystal that is not going to be too small, you don't want them to play with it, but maybe something larger that you could just kind of place next to the food bowl area, that they're not necessarily going to touch. So I would say something more like a raw stone would be better, something that they're not necessarily going to play with. Or you could put it in their bed area too. So little things like that. But I feel like ultimately it's going to be okay. I feel like the cats will start to, you know, bond, and I feel like more so Hugo's going to be the one to initiate more. But we got to get the cat that has the most trauma, we got to work with them to feel a little bit more confident in themselves too. Okay. I hope that this reading helped, my love. Thank you so much for allowing me to read for you and your beautiful little kitties. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, please send me an email. I wish you all the best. Give Hugo and Milo a hug for me, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, my love.